Hi guys, welcome to Cinema Express. I'm chatting with the cool folk over at Comicstaan Season 3, which is dropping this week. Welcome guys, welcome to Cinema Express.
Thank you.
I
Right. I'll get to it. I'll be sorry to round on you right away, but what do you love so much about hosting Comicstaan? I thought you'll be a judge by now. Are they not taking you as a judge? Is that it?
Since the beginning, I've been asked this question, why aren't you becoming a judge? And I'm like, because I don't want to do that boring job to sit there and judge while feeling inadequate about your own career. It takes a certain level of narcissism versus self-realization. Your therapy cost is going to be way higher. And I know the judges, they're nice people. So there's no like megalomania in it. So matlab hoga internal crisis. Or go on stage, have fun with the audience, and then just be like, oh, I didn't do this. Your career destroyed because or made because of what these guys thought. I think to neutralize the ego is why on Comicstaan, the audience also has voting points. So hence, it's just simpler to go on stage, do some crowd work, look very nice, curl up your hair, and just make people laugh, and then go back home.
Also, there's not a better host, by the way. That's what people are forgetting, that okay, you make Abish the judge, then who's going to be the host? And a lot of people forget, like, many shows are kind of associated with the host, and many times the judges are changed. But when you change the host, that's when the audience is like, okay, that's weird. You don't change the... And also in comedy, also when you do live shows, the host is like the audience's best friend and the contestant best friend. So in that dynamic, like, I don't think there's a better person than Abish who can do that.
Yeah.
That's what I felt when they removed Nikhil Chinnappa from a bunch of my favorite shows.
Exactly, right? Like he kind of becomes the show.
Yeah.
So you can change the other stuff, but you don't change the host.
Oh, you guys.
Okay, I got to ask this. Comicstaan has emerged this, really exciting platform for young comics across India. It's almost like the Indian Idol of comedy by now. I want to ask Kenny and Aadar, do you guys feel proud of this and what the show has come to mean across India?
I joined in this year, and it was already this, for lack of a better word, it's this, not negatively, but it's this monster of a show. There's a lot of responsibility that kind of comes in with the show now, compared to when, people were trying things out in season 1 and season 2. Now they've really proved the concept works. So now season 3 kind of the hurdles for season 3 become like, oh, can we hit the same marks that we managed to hit on season 1 and season 2? Because clearly this worked. All the comics that came out of there really like have figured out their way in this quote unquote industry and have really become loved by the audience. So how do you maintain that? And then there's COVID, you're working around that, and just trying to figure out how to shoot. So there was a lot of work where at one point you were like, let's just try to get it done and finish it, because we've got so many restrictions and we've been trying to do this, and there are delays because of course we have to be safe, like safety has to come first. But then we would take a step back and be like, no, we are still trying to maintain the creative integrity of the show. So even if that takes even longer, and that time was spent and actually the efforts were put into maintain that exact level of creative output in spite of all the restrictions.
Kenny, I have to ask you this. You've been doing this for a while, and I want to know, when a comic is up on stage, do you go by your gut instinct of how much you laughed at a particular point or a joke? Or are you judging more technically in terms of, the artistry of comedy, how they are getting, let's say, a process of a certain genre, right? Is that more mathematical? That's how you judge? Or is it like, someone was funny on stage and you just mark them up?
No, that was an awesome question. And it's something that I revisit every season. It's changed every season, but I usually take the stance of, I'm trying to figure out what they were going for. And I get it because I've been in that same position, and you can see a joke that's not there yet, but you can see the idea behind it. And the audience also won't see it. So it was my job as a judge to, again, I put myself in their shoes, that if I tried a joke and it didn't land, but I took a risk, it'll be nice if a judge appreciated that I see where you're going, and this is the whole point of stand-up, that you take a lot of risks. And as Aadar was saying, like there are a lot of things. Like we also want this show to be the Indian Idol of stand-up comedy, because stand-up comedy doesn't have an Indian Idol. So a lot of things are very hard. Like there's an actual paid, like the audience is paying money to watch. They are not being paid to watch. So they wanna experience a good show. So if a joke doesn't work, they don't laugh. Most of the producers consult us comedians on how the show should run. So there's a lot of no plagiarism is not tolerated. So a lot of that stuff, it's a very difficult show, and stand-up is very hard. So as a judge, my position I took for this season was, I'm going to reward a contestant who took a risk. At the same time, just because the audience didn't get it, I want them to know that good job. But I also want them to know that stand-up is very brutal. You had an idea, it didn't work today, and that's just how it is with stand-up comedy, that that show matters. And if you didn't perform that day, unfortunately, that's how it is.
Yes,
I think that's where I think it's different from Indian Idol. Now, the idea, because you brought up plagiarism, it's just like, imagine every Indian Idol contestant having to write a song every episode. That's what's happening in this show. And that's why people watching it get so impressed, because they're writing on a weekly basis and they're trying to create something which we would normally, a bit that we put out would be worked on for God knows how many months before we actually take it on stage and then try to shoot it. And these guys are being made to shoot it almost instantaneously. Like it's just it's very scary to do, especially at when you're kind of starting out, and so it's just so scary to actually try to do something like that. बहुत डर जाते हैं यार, हम लोग तो डर जाते हैं. So it's like, that's what it is.
I'll open this up to all of you guys. Tell me this: you guys are inspirations to like a generation of young comics, but I'm also sure a lot of them land up here without much training and would probably just text you guys for either opportunities or for help or for things like that. How do you guys navigate that? Because the psychology of a young comic is very tricky, because you don't want to dishearten them, but you want your personal space, and not always would you guys have time to help people out or to help them figure shows or help them navigate Mumbai even. How do you guys deal with it? When young comics sort of hound you or latch onto you?
I mean, I think all of us have different perspectives on it, so I don't speak for either of them or the entire team. I don't think, according to me, I don't think we are the inspirations for anybody. We were doing it, so when they saw us do it, they were like, "Oh, ye to hum bhi kar sakte." And then they come on board, and then so we are not inspirations. They're looking at, you are this successful, but this is okay. Then I can also, it's a proof of concept. We are proof of concept. We are not inspiration. Well done. So then it just becomes amazing to see them. Like even on Comicstaan, when I saw like these names I haven't heard before, a lot of them, and then I saw them perform. It's the same thing that Kenny in the show also keeps saying, and Aadar also says. It's weird to be surrounded who are contestants right now, you're calling them, but as artists, like when Kenny was saying that, I see where you're going for. So there's a lot of like cred points, like, like credibility points as comedians. They're like, yeah, that was good. So there is utmost respect at all time. There is never that patriarchal thing or patronizing thing, except when you're coming as mentors, you're again navigating it, if I'm not wrong, with like, I think this might be nicer because I've done it for some time, not because I know what your voice is. So that's why judging is way tougher, and mentoring to weave through. Nobody wants to tell any comic, as far as I've seen. Everyone's like very polite with them, and they're also very respectful. So it's like, we got your back. Yeah, we got your back as well.
Also, I think from my limited experience, there are really two types of young comics. Like one is that tell me what's the secret? Come on, just what do I do? Just tell me quickly. What is it? And the other one is, I'm never going to make it, and I'm kind of very close to giving up, and what's the point of any of this? So I've usually met these two, because the middle don't need that help anyway, because they're on their path, right? These two extremes are the ones who are most frustrated. The one who's like, tell me what it is. I love breaking the bubble. I just like, you just have to keep making. Just keep trying, keep performing, keep making, and maybe in 5-10 years something will happen. They're like, what nonsense is this? So that's what. The second one is just insane level of encouragement is all they need, because I needed that when I was young. And I remember I want to do my first 1 hour special, and I thought I'll record and I'll put it on YouTube. And a lot of people didn't encourage me, and I really remember that, and few did, but I really had to push myself to do it. So I think it's just that either it's massive encouragement of you can do it, just keep believe in yourself, you're talented, and the other one is the same thing but in a more bubble breaking way. This is just the beginning, you have another 10 years to go, then you'll see some because all of us also didn't plan this. Like, we got very lucky, like we were on this path, and then YouTube, OTT, people started wanting stand-up, people started coming out for entertainment. It just lined up. We got very lucky, and we were already on that path. So how do you explain that to someone else? So yeah.
What's your approach when someone reaches you for help or advice?
I try to do what Kenny said. I try to talk to them in the most genuine way possible, but ultimately it's a very boring piece of advice that they get. It's just roj kar and rehearse the bit 50 times before you take it to stage the first time. Yeah, I've had weird conversations with people. It's like, because I do a lot of musical comedy, and this is all three of us do. It's very rare that this opportunity comes in where I mentioned that, and like everybody on the panel is doing it.
Yeah, what you're saying.
So I've had like conversations with people like, no, yaar, like the music and all is very easy. I can do that, but lyrics are an issue. If once I figure out the lyrics, it'll be fine. So the script of the whole set is what you're not getting right. So it's like there are a lot of weird things that you get told sometimes, and you're trying to not be rude to them in a way like, hey buddy, you've just said something really stupid. It's like, no, I still want to not like destroy your like sanity that way and like not make you sad about it, but you're basically just, it's a very boring process of doing it over and over and over again and then you take it to stage, and then you realize, oh, it's not working, and then you take it. Or I've rewritten songs, I've done songs which I've rehearsed, taken it to stage, performed it, and I forced Abish to watch, and then Abish is like, no, this is not working, and I've gone home and scratched the whole thing and rewrote that whole song again, and it's one of the best songs I have right now, but it went through 7 different rewrites and tune changes to get, because it was an idea and I was married to the idea but not the execution of it. So I was open to that aspect. Okay, this might change and I might have to throw the whole thing away, and it's okay to do that.
I have a set of quick questions. One stand-up special or a stand-up show that you guys watched recently that was really inspiring or cool and that was really awesome, maybe on Netflix or anything. No, generally. Anyway.
I think again, I'm a true YouTuber, to be honest. I think I watch anything, any stand-up clips that people put out on YouTube. I watch. I think Jim Gaffigan had a Prime special that came out. To be honest, like at this point, I'm just a fan of the comic, so they could just do an interview of 2 hours and not be funny at all, and I would listen to it. So for me, it's Bill Burr, Ricky Gervais, Dave Chappelle, Jim Gaffigan. They do anything, I'm watching it. So the podcast, interview, special clips, anything I'll watch. So those are mine.
Right. You too?
I've been following a lot of Mark Normand. Like these are the guys who've like not really gone on to the OTT platforms as much, and they're really attacking you. Like Andrew Schultz is releasing his own, he bought back his special and is releasing it on 17th as a pay-per-view on his own website. So it's like, these are people who are just doing, and he bought it back. He's like, I put in my life savings and bought it back. They were asking me to put too many cuts on the special, so he just bought the whole thing again. And he's like, this is a big risk he's taking, and he's just dumping it all on one website. And you know that he's going to cut clips and put it on YouTube for free. So it's like, so I've been really enjoying these comedians, and of course the ones that Kenny mentioned. It's like, of course you're watching them all, and I think Bill Burr's releasing a new special in the next few days. So there are a lot of comedians who I'm following right now, and like just new stuff is coming out, and I'm very excited about just watching all of them. It's not like, there's always that new bit that is coming out, and you're like just eating it immediately.
Abish, for you?
I think I don't think I've watched any comedy specials recently, which I know there are a bunch of them coming out, but because I'm doing a season of Journey of a Joke for the last few months, I've been watching a lot of, like Kenny said, comedians and their bits in general to understand what's going on, plus what our scene is up to. So for the last couple of months, I've been watching our scene material. So I didn't even know Gaffigan Special is coming out, right? For that matter. But when it does come out, like when Bo Burnham's outtakes came, that night was dedicated only to watch that. So when there are these, the comedians have dropped a special, then I'll go watch it. Otherwise, right now, watching a lot of our scene just to work towards the show. So yeah, it's work.
This is a hard choice, but if you guys had to pick between Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is the show you'll pick?
Oh my God.
Curb Your Enthusiasm for me.
Jesus.
I 100% will choose The Office.
Why did you say Curb so fast, Aadar? That's pretty tough.
The improv nature of it really attracts me.
Yeah.
Because I know how they wrote the show. They would just write detailed situations, and that was their script. They would write no dialogue. Very detailed situations, and that's how they would just the edit process used to take 5 times longer than any other sitcom.
Yeah, the thing is, because I know that I will say Seinfeld, because I feel Curb wouldn't exist if
Without
Larry
Seinfeld,
David
yeah.
didn't have 12 years of schooling. So I'm just like, you can't choose college if you've not gone through school. So I would
Nice.
No, because I was just like, man, it's so hard to choose. But then I also feel like I think Larry got so I think he's just like, I've done perfect scripting for I don't know how many, 7 seasons or 8 seasons, and now I'm
9 seasons.
9 seasons, and now I'm gonna, with this amount of vast knowledge that is second nature to me, I'm gonna now do improv. So man, what a flex that is. So I would say Seinfeld because school education is important.
Guys, is there a subject of any nature, not just of dark nature, but of any nature that you guys have been sitting on for a long time and you thought that I'll put this in or wrestle with this maybe someday in a special something, but you haven't gotten around to it for a long time, or you would always want to?
Yes, for me, it's death. Been really trying hard to put death into a special, but then COVID happened, so I was like, worst time to talk about death. But not in form, just like for the sake of dark jokes, just the mortality and but in I want to do it in a lighthearted way, like how to kneel death in a lighthearted way.
Uruj does a nice bit on death anxiety and that feeling that
like the stuff she does is like very cool, but like you imagine doing that for an hour, and she's managed to do that for that period of time, but like, man, it's hard to do that for an hour, because it's an inherent contradiction to stand up where you're going in to kind of laugh and shit. But if you go in and come out depressed, then you kind of counterintuitive.
I think as far as where I want to take it, currently my brain is not in where do I... My brain is not thinking of what are the topics I should talk about that are dark, as opposed to sometimes I want to talk about something and it turns out that this is a dark... A punchline is better than just a holistic angle of it. So I think the premises are still lighthearted and like personal, but I think angles that I take could be dark. Like, for example, when Kenny was saying we're dealing with death, in my head, one of the concepts I'm trying to work on is also like this thing of, when they say, what's the point of all of it? So, but trying to do it like a one-person sketch, but like in stand-up, I'm able to do it. So there's no premise that's dark. I just thought it'd be interesting to impersonate death having a conversation with life as a part of something that's a part of something really stupid. I'm talking about roti chawal, and it just becomes a metaphor. It becomes dark. But if the audience doesn't get the comedy of it, then it's failed completely. So I've stopped doing that as well. But like,
I think 2011 2021, just before Comicstaan, I think. And I was shooting it with Shrija. We were shooting small bits, and I did like a nice 20-minute piece about like death, and it was something that I was really working on for a long time. It was about my grandmother, and it was just because she was so callous about death that I could do that bit, to the point where between shooting it and releasing it, she passed away. And I checked with my father before, like I would have returned all the money, and I was like, okay, I maybe need to retract the whole thing, because it's just about making jokes about her possibly dying. And he's like, no, this is the best way to possibly celebrate her, because she was so casual about it, and she used to make us laugh about her dying. And it was because it's just, she made it so natural as a part of life. And she was a very religious lady, and that's what I think she took the best parts of religion, where it's like, yeah, this is just natural progression of life, and death is just the basic cycle, and just why not laugh about it. So that became like, and I would like to possibly, I tested some things out there where, as far as storytelling is concerned, I would like to go more into a theatrical way of doing things, play more with lights. And Neil Brennan did this thing called three mics. Am I getting the name
mics.
wrong?
Three mics.
Three mics, where he would just play with the spotlights and they jump from different kind of. It was just so wonderfully done. So maybe do like more theatrical, use more of the theatrical elements while you're doing comedy. Like really, like use audio, use the lights in a very unusual way.
I was watching an interview of Jerry Seinfeld, and he was asked that, you don't do political jokes. And he said, yeah, I don't, because I do raisin jokes, and, I joke on raisins. So I want to know how, and it made me think that, in the West, there's an oversaturation of topical, or let's say political comedy, and Jerry would stick to what he knows best, or, what he finds funny. In our context, in the Indian context, political to chhod bhi do, abhi utna ho bhi nahi raha hai, but do you guys ever feel the pressure to topicalize your pieces a bit more than it needs to? If you have a subject that's funny, but that not probably like utna relatable, or it's not like very it, do you guys feel a need to make it a little more, with the times, with the news?
I think as far as stand-up is concerned, when you're doing stand-up, it's about the evergreen nature of the premise. Like it should be something that should stand the test in 10 years' time. So that's why on stage, when you take a material, it takes 6 months to craft that, figure it out. And then the online, when we put it up, it's mostly like an archive of what it is. As opposed to, I think, on Instagram and on like, quick short form content platforms, the objective is not only to be trending topics, but like look at Aadar and look at Kenny's material, that even on Instagram, it doesn't have to be topical. You can go back to their reels, whether it's old to new, it still sustains. So I think the topicality is interesting to join a conversation, but in case there is no topicality, it's almost like, what do you want to put up? I mean, if I have to observe both of their careers as stand-up comedians and as digital creators, both of them, by the way, are different careers that they're handling. So I find it very cool that both of them have been able to find what they want to put everywhere. Topicality. I don't know. Is that true, actually? I mean, this is my observation of the both of you.
No, also, I get this question a lot. And I think it's kind of like we're getting stuck in semantics, because all stand-up is relatable. You can't make a non-relatable joke on stage. Like the skill of a comedian is to take a seemingly unrelatable topic and make you care about it. If you don't get the second part right, the joke bombs. Like if you go to an audience and they're older and you're talking about going on Tinder dates, you've lost the older crowd. But if you talk about Tinder dates and then bring it back to them discussing their fears of having children, then you got them back. So the joke then works. So so that's one thing, that anything that a stand-up comedian writes has to be relatable. Like otherwise they would just be on stage with nobody listening. The second thing is topical is what it is. It's kind of like let's again we're getting stuck on so many. It's like kind of asking a news reporter, why don't you play 2 months old news today? They'll be like, that makes no sense. Why would I do that? They're very aware that if I present this news today, it's for today. So even topical comedians know that if they're going to do a joke about, I don't know, like Amitabh Bachchan did this, he drove in his car and his parked in a wrong place. You know the shelf life of that joke, and you know that this is only for today. The audience is talking about it, or I release it as a clip today. But that's what the purpose of topical is. Well, observational is what Abish was saying, where you can put this in a special. 2 years from now, it'll still work. So it's kind of getting lost in the semantics of topical, observational, relatable, and also and I think we did an interview and Zakir also brought this up, that none of us can genuinely do anything new. There's, as you say, right? What is that saying? There's no new idea. So we're just repackaging things that are everlastingly relevant. So, but in a unique way. So that's what I think all comics in every country do.
Just with comedy, I think what's been working is, for me personally, is, and I think I spoke to Zakir about this only, where as specific as you can get will make it more relatable. Like the more specific you go, the more it will become like, oh yeah, I kind of do this as well. But the more surface level you stay, the less relatable it remains. So it's that how deep can you keep gnawing at the same topic and figure out gold.
Yeah, and I think advertising agencies also do this very badly. The way, like, there was this famous thing where I don't know the brand, but they were trying to target the young audience, and when they saw the demographic of people buying the product, it was older people, because older people want to be perceived as young. So then they're like, now what do we do? So then if you start shifting the marketing to older people, older people like, no, we are not old. So then, so it's very it's not so counterintuitive to be relatable. So the Aadar is saying, like, you think you're just talking about yourself, and you're saying, you know, I am 30 years old and I'm figuring out my life. And a 14-year-old can relate to that. Like, they'll listen to something and be like, I kind of feel like I'm in the same place. Or someone older who's 60 and we presume is very sorted, they'll be like, I also feel confused. So you never know. You just, all you can do is be honest to yourself.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Had a lovely chat. It's always nice to have comedians in this chill out sort of a zone and discuss the process. And we are tempted to ice crack, but it's like really disarming to have you guys chill and, you know, talk about your craft, which you don't see that often. All the best for Comicstaan season 2.
Great questions, dude.
Thank you so much for such amazing questions. Yeah.